After a long series and a thrilling Game 7, the Toronto Raptors advanced to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yes, it's the WC, the NBA playoffs here on YouTube. Toronto Raptors will take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I know what you're thinking. WC, you've always been some type of opponent of the Toronto Raptors, and I'll give them credit. They beat a game, Miami team, and both sides were kind of even. Once Whiteside went down, the Heat didn't have an answer. Um, and Toronto just so happened to have Bismack Biyombo. They kind of filling that spot for Valanciunas, and that was the difference in the series. You could say Lowry, but I'll say Biyombo because he was able to clean up the glass and give them 3 shots, 4 shots on possessions in Game 7, which basically ultimately was the difference. Um, but how does that translate to this series? Stick around here. All right, so let's go into coaching matchups for the Eastern Conference Finals. All right, Dwayne Casey versus Tyronn Lue. On paper, Casey smokes him. Um, but not necessarily, man. I mean, Tyronn Lue has been an assistant in the league for at least 6-7 years after he retired uh, from his playing career. But Dwayne Casey, I mean, it's one of those situations where he's always been a very very good coach. Hasn't had the opportunity to really shine or have like an all-star team or a really great team. And in the playoffs, from the second round up going forward, it's definitely heavy coaching matchups. So I'm looking at Dwayne Casey and I'm saying, is this a clear cut check for Dwayne Casey? I mean, based off of his pedigree and his prior coaching venues, I have to say yes, man. I have to say that the check mark goes to Casey, especially after that Game 7 win. Tyronn Lue really hasn't had to put his foot to the grindstone yet as the Cleveland Cavaliers coach and basically will these guys into a victory. And Dwayne Casey did that after arguably one of their best players went down in this series. So we're gonna rock with Dwayne Casey here. Um, as far as like key matchup, let me say this. All right, I've been critical of DeMar DeRozan. I've been critical of Kyle Lowry, and rightfully so. After the way that they played against the Wizards in the first round last year, they deserve to be ripped apart. And then even in this series, they deserve to be ripped apart against the Miami Heat because there were times where these guys just did not show up, and these guys had to show up every single game against the Cavaliers because the Cavaliers are just working as a 3-point shooting machine. All right, I wanted to make sure I said that before I say this. The key matchup in this series, all right, is not Lowry versus Irving, which should be the matchup. It's going to be LeBron versus everybody. All right. Basically, who on the Raptors roster will be able to stop LeBron James? If you, like I said, I'm a famous person for throwing people back. All right. If you throw Damari Curl at me, all right, and say that he's going to stop LeBron James, I will toss him back. If you say that DeMar DeRozan is going to stop LeBron James, I will throw him back. If you say that Bismack Biyombo will stop LeBron James, I will laugh for a few minutes. All right, stop crying and laughing for a second, and then eventually throw him back. All right. I don't think that there's anybody on that roster that can stop LeBron James, that can match up with LeBron James. LeBron James is a complete monster in this series. All right. And I don't think that Toronto has an answer for him. All right. I just don't. I don't think that they have an answer for him. Hey, if you want to tell me that Patterson is going to stop him, no. There's nobody that can match up with LeBron James. They just have to hope that LeBron James catches the flu and just misses every shot. All right. Then they have to hope that Love misses every shot and that Irvin misses every shot. All right. The way that the Raptors won, look, the way that the Raptors played in that last series against the Heat, they can't play like that against the Cavaliers. They just can't. Anybody that knows basketball knows that what I'm saying is not. I'm not being critical of Toronto. Congratulations on getting the win, but they can't play like that against the Cavaliers. They just can't. So LeBron versus everybody. Who can stop LeBron? I'm going to ask that question at least 3 more times before this video is over. All right. Let's get into the fantasy aspect of this. All right. Let's just go ahead and leap into the fantasy aspect of this. This is probably going to be one of the quickest videos, Eastern Conference preview videos I've ever done. Let's get into the fantasy standpoint of this. If you're still playing fantasy, which I don't know why, because there's really no separation or variance, um, just ask yourself the question: who's going to stop LeBron? And just move forward from there. You just plug LeBron in. Maybe you put him with Irvin and Love, and you just let him go to work. You know, um, as far as like value goes, Biombo's still going to be priced as a value. I do like Patterson in this series. I think that Love is one of those guys that he's a little slow foot at the four, so you can see Patterson can get that outside jumper working. He can be okay play. Um, I'm not saying that J.R. Smith is a shutdown defender. I think that DeRozan will still be able to get his points in, but the person I'm worried about is Lowry. I think that Lowry versus Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie Irving is somewhat of a defensive point guard, but he's not as bad. I'm gonna tell you like this: Kyrie Irving is not as bad as Curry and Westbrook. All right, but he's just as bad when it comes to defense at times. So Lowry could probably get himself going. He had a huge game 7. Props to Kyle Lowry. Like I said, I want the Toronto Raptors fans to feel as though I'm hating on the Raptors. I just know when a team, all right, is eking, squeezing by. They on the other side, you see this team that looks like the juggernaut. They look like nobody can stop them. So you got a team that looks like they're struggling, just getting by, going against a team that's throttling people. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's just basketball knowledge. So you can get a 5-year-old in here, and a 5-year-old can tell you the same thing. He'll come to you and say, who's gonna stop LeBron? Who's gonna check him? Who's gonna stop him? 5-year-old can say that to me. All right, just by looking at it from my eye standpoint. All right. Ultimately, do I really need to tell you folks who I think is going to play in the NBA Finals here? All right. Now, at the end of the game, the Raptors fans said that they wanted Cleveland. After the way that they played Miami, and Miami didn't have Whiteside, they don't want no part of Cleveland. I don't see them beating Cleveland in a 7-game series unless some type of dramatic injury happens. We don't want to see that happen. So, you know, I'll give Toronto a game. I'll say that Toronto can win this series. Toronto. I'll say that Toronto can win a game. But I'll say that Cleveland should be able to win this series in 5 games, if not sweeping, because you just cannot play that way in the playoffs and make any kind of difference. Could this game 7 have been a renaissance for the Toronto Raptors? Who knows? We don't know necessarily yet. But basketball history says no. Basketball history says if you don't come into the playoffs on fire, you know what I'm saying, and if you play poorly during the playoffs, you usually fall off that cliff eventually. You might get lucky here and there, but you'll eventually fall off that cliff. And let me make the record straight before I leave this video. All right. Even if the Heat had won, I would have been saying the same thing about the Heat. I would have gave props to Wade, would have gave props to Dragic, but you just can't play that poorly in the playoffs and expect to beat a team like the Heat. I mean, not the Heat, but expect to beat a team like the Cavaliers right now. That's just the way that it is. Didn't make this up. Not it is what it is. Anybody that knows how to read basketball, anybody that can give basketball the eye test knows that what I'm saying is the absolute truth. So I'll give Toronto a game. I think that they can beat them. Say at least once. But in a 7-game series, no. Cleveland in 5 games. So let me know how you guys feel about the Eastern Conference Finals. Congratulations to the Toronto Raptors, but I think that Cleveland's just going to have their way here in the Eastern Conference Finals. So let me know how you guys feel down below. Keep it clean down in the comments too. All right, this is just my opinion. It's WC, man. I'll see you guys next time. This is the NBA playoffs here on YouTube.